Intimacy, intimacy, intimacy isn't just physical. No, it is more. It's emotional, it's spiritual, and relational. We'll talk more about it right after this.
Let's talk about love and marriage the way that God intended. A life experience, here we share it. The No Fruit Podcast. Tune in from any platform. No Fruit Podcast. Will help your spirit transform.
Hello.
Hey. What's going on, everybody?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on, Maurice?
Everything's good.
It's good.
Yep.
You sure?
Uh-huh.
Okay, good. Uh-oh.
Excuse me, y'all.
So today we are talking about that word.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's scared of the L word, but I think we should be scared of the I word.
An I word?
Yes, the
Okay.
I word.
Okay.
And it's not information.
Mm.
It's intimacy.
Okay.
Intimacy. So many people get it twisted on what it really is, what it means, how to give it, how to receive it. We've talked about it here because it's just one of those topics that, it's just important.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about it here on the podcast in season 7, I think season 6, we've talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
And, different viewpoints on it from our perspective, from others as well, on what it is and how important it is and can you have a relationship without it?
Mm-hmm.
So today we're talking about, the different types, a little bit of intimacy and what is it? What is intimacy to you, Reese?
I think intimacy is one I think is important.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding what the definition is for you. Because I think it differs from person to person
Mm-hmm.
because of their background or whatever it is. So for myself, I've had to learn through definitely marriage of intimacy does not mean a sexual interaction.
Right.
Because unfortunately we see on TV sex sells, right? And then you kind of get squirmy on TV shows where they show, kissing and, whatever it is. And you think that's intimacy, because that's the image that you see. Not understanding that and then also let's put ourselves in a dating situation. You know what? You're dating someone and, you see them and you're just so happy that next thing you know, things are popping off, right?
Mm.
Literally popping off. Whether, hey, if y'all know my friends, we got prosthetic toes or something stupid like that. So we're undressing, we popping off our prosthetic toes mentality, right? So that's what I mean by things popping off. It's the Fresh Prince thing of where he's stuck in the basement with the girl. He like, I don't know if her hair is real and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So you take his things off or whatever. So, it's just those, because now y'all are in naked and afraid mentality, right? I don't know why all these analogies are coming to my head. It's retarded. But I think what happened for myself and I did not understand that my wife, she said to me early on, Maurice, have a conversation with me first. Don't go all the way to like, third base. Is like, yo, like, can we talk? Like, can we have a conversation first? Can you at least say that I'm pretty or something? And so sometimes you don't understand the value of that type of connection. And then because of a long day, because of, other factors and situations, how I might feel that day. I woke up this morning and, my hair look all scruggly or whatever else, and you don't realize like something might flip somebody's switch. Like for an example, I have hair on my face right now. And I'm thinking that, I got to go and cut it all off. And, as Kafa is saying to me, she's like, I love my little silver fox, vibe, right? And so am I opposed to cutting it off? I'm not. Am I opposed to, going back to where I used to, when I was cutting it all off? No, I'm not. I can go both ways right now because of one, how it's growing in. If y'all remember, like I was patchy McPatch work, whatever. So, but is that part of the place of intimacy? Can she really enjoy the conversations that we're having? Can she see her husband in a more attractive way? And the way you say things, do things, or whatever it is, does it look more attractive in certain situations? Again, it doesn't always have to be physical, but sometimes it's just the way you look, the way you smell, the way you approach situations, or whatever it is. So those are some of the things that I had to learn, that it wasn't always, let's take off our clothes. It could be other levels of connecting with one another. So that's what it comes down for me.
Yeah, and it goes back to, the comment that I had at the top of the show of, it's beyond physical. It's emotional. So a little bit of what Maurice is talking about when it says, hey, can you have a conversation with me? Can we get some emotional connection before we get to this physical connection? Impress my mind a little bit. Like, let's talk a little bit. How was your day? Let's connect in other ways. Let's connect emotionally. And that means so much to have that, well, at least for me. And we've talked about some of these different connections, like I said earlier in previous episodes of the podcast. And some of them were with some of our guests that we've had. And I'm not sure if anybody listening is interested in being a guest on the show and coming in and talking to us, but you can do so.
If you are host of a podcast and looking for guests, maybe you have an amazing idea or company that you want to share and you would like to be a guest on a podcast. Join Podmatch today by visiting www.joinpodmatch.com/Maurice D. Chisholm. Looking to hearing from you soon.
Yes, so we're always interested in looking for guests to come on the show and talk with us, to talk about topics like this, intimacy. As I said before, we've learned so much from our guests as they've shared things about their marriages and when it comes to intimacy, when it comes to love, when it comes to just overall marriage. But again, as I was saying, intimacy is more than just physical. It's also spiritual. And I have to say, even though Maurice and I met in church, at a church meeting, as our relationship progressed, we went to church together. We were church leaders, and all of those great things. But our spiritual connection, at least for me, and Reese, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think our spiritual connection, where we really prayed together, we worshiped together, we cried together in Jesus' name, we laid before the Lord, like we fasted together. All that didn't happen until recently.
On the level that it's on now.
Right.
I mean, I think we've had moments, and so let's be, again, another transparent moment. As I had said to you, Kafa, that there were times where I did not necessarily pray, right? With the right mind, with the right heart, being, doing things in form and fashion, instead of like, no, God, like I need to have this real relationship with you,
right?
And so not being aware of who's around me, who's not around me, or whatever it is, and so I think that's been some of the changes or the experience because of those type of experiences. So that is where life had changed, and so once I, in all honesty, changed my connection. Again, transparency
Mm-hmm.
really changed my connection with my Lord and Savior,
Right.
right? Our relationship had changed.
Yes.
And so even now, let me be, again, we're being clear and honest and whatever it is that even with me doing my initial sermon, because a lot of you, I don't know if you know or not, I am a licensed minister. My license hasn't been revoked, whatever. So I am a licensed minister, so what you may hear from time to time is that part of my life, that call on my life.
Yes.
Right. And so, but let's be honest, when I quote unquote answered the call, I wasn't totally there though. Again, form and fashion or formal fashion, whatever, however the term really goes, so it was because the call had been on my life. I had been running away and something just said, all right, it's time for you to stop running. But I didn't answer the call fully. I answered the call in body, but not in spirit and truth.
Right.
Right. So once I answered the call in spirit and truth, the body changed.
Mm.
And so was when we talk about intimacy with my wife changed. So now again, we're gonna get a little deeper into this. And so now when I look at Kafa, because she used to say, Maurice, you can't even look at me in my face. Right? There were moments I couldn't even look at her in her face because I wasn't being honest or truthful, or whatever it is. And then, being real with myself, being real with God, and now I could be real with her, as I said to her, I've been saying to her, like, oh my gosh, like, I could look into her eyes. I'm like, yo, do you understand? Like, your eyes really do change color. Like, they got, it's such a pretty brown or whatever it is. It don't even have to be light, reflecting it. It could be her eyes literally are changing color. I think they really change in a situation of how she's feeling in the moment. I can see her love. I can see her joy. I can see whatever it is. Maybe her eyes are just open, whatever, versus her usual, I'm sleepy, vibe or whatever. But I could truly see a difference in her, just her eyes, right? And then you start to see also in that moment how the body relaxes. Because you can kind of, again, the eyes are the connection to the soul. So now if the body relaxes, the atmosphere changes or whatever it is, now when you are in a real physical moment, what is that experience like? It's not the same, right? Because some things could be so physical that it's just all physical and it hurts. It's painful. It is not really enjoyable. It's rough. It's whatever it might be. And it might be, sometimes some moments call for that, but there's, a lot of other moments when you're really with the one that you love, should you really be approaching those physical moments in that space, and so for me, it has, provided opportunities for more moments of vulnerability, which provides, connection, it provides a level of trust,
Yes.
in that, moment. And sometimes in that moment of where I'm not, or I have not been in that place of confidence or feeling shameful or whatever the situation is, I have really seen how it has really blocked how close we can or could not be, because it's like, hey, you know what? I'm not feeling right. I'm not being honest with myself or God, then, and I'm shameful of that, or I'm not feeling right with that, or whatever it is, then guess what? That means I'm not close with myself. I can't be close to you, and so now, when, and if a moment comes up where, we want to hold hands or, sneak a quick kiss, in the store or whatever it is, even though there are times where I'm kind of in my zone, I'm kind of not where Kafa might be. where she wants to do that. But I have been a little more open to that lately. I have been a little more receptive to that or understanding of that, and understanding like, hey, I have to be not just aware of our surroundings, but also aware of her as well, and what she's feeling and what is that, tra-la-la moment that she's going through, and so I think some of that is part of that intimate connection that has grown over the years.
Yeah. You said a whole lot. And you took away a couple of things I was thinking. You read my mind. And that's part of being intimate and being connected. Like you do grow closer together. You'll start saying the same things and thinking the same thing and whatnot from just having that greater connection of the emotional connection, the spiritual connection, even relational connection, financial connection. Like all of those things lead to greater intimacy,
Right.
greater connection with one another. But I think, it's so key that I think, at least with us and our relationship, Maurice, that it started, like I said before, it started in church, and that's our root. That's our base. That's our foundation, is God. And when we put him first, then all these other things grow from there. So like I said, now we can hold hands and not be shameful of it. Before we wouldn't even want to kiss in front of the kids. We barely wanted to hug, and it was so funny and innocent. But even if we did hug each other, the kids were like radar, the parents are hugging. Let's come in, team hug. And they would run in and hug us not even knee-high tall, and they're running in to give us a hug just because we were hugging. And we had an open family, love like that. Like, oh, yeah, come on, let's get, give hugs, family hugs, group hugs. But for, other things, when it came to a kiss and things like that, we're a little more shy, a little more bashful with sharing that openly, like you said, not, out in the streets, nor even at home. Again, it was kind of just for us. We didn't display that so much openly in the past. Doing a little bit more now, not so ashamed of it and whatnot. I think it as Maurice was saying, it does show on our faces that we're in love. It does show, it shows up to others and they can see it, but we weren't always openly expressing it in that way. And I think overall, just being true and honest allowed us to be more vulnerable, not only with one another, but with ourselves, and taking that deep dive and looking at ourselves and what we wanted in this relationship helped us to be true and honest with one another. And we're realizing that physical closeness without emotional connection can leave us feeling separate and leave us feeling distant and feeling not a part. So it was key for us to really take a look at that, because we were in a place in our marriage at one time where we were distant, sleeping in the same bed, but he on one edge and I'm on the other edge. You know what I mean? So distant and apart, not having that connection emotionally or spiritually. We could be going to church together, sitting in the same car, but weren't really intimately connected. And there's no way for us to really express it on this podcast, but it's just such a difference when you are connected, really truly connected. Like you feel so different. Everything is different. The way you cook dinner is different. The way, you go out on a date feels different. The watch a movie is different. Like all of those things are different. Even the physical, as Maurice was saying, the actual physical act is different once you are more connected, intimate, and have a better vibe for one another. It's so different. And I just want everybody to get to that point in their marriage, whether you've just been married for 25 days or 25 years like us, really, really get to that point. You have to, one of the ways I guess you could probably try to do that is to have an honest, uninterrupted conversation with your spouse about how are you really doing? Like, how are you really feeling? Like, get deep into it. And kind of go from there, and then make corrections and make changes.
Right.
But in order to do that, you have to have that trust. You have to be vulnerable, and you can't be ashamed of how you feel. And that's tough, but those are our challenges. We're challenging you with that, today as our listeners in this community, because we're going to pull this together. Like, marriage is going to last, and we're going to do it one podcast episode at a time, somehow, some way. So again, we're challenging all of our listeners, just be honest with yourselves, sit down, have an uninterrupted conversation with each other. Just, hey, how you doing?
Right.
Let me tell you how I'm doing in this thing we've got going on. And be open and be honest.
So I would like for y'all to subscribe so you don't have to miss any more of these type of deep conversations. This season is not the same as others. We're getting a little deeper, a little more real about where things really are, and the identity that we have totally embraced, because we've run from it, that identity, but we understand who we are now, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're able to embrace who we are today, which helps us to embrace who and what the No Fruit Podcast really is, which helps us to be and have these type of intimate conversations with y'all. Yes. So again, intimacy is emotional, spiritual, and relational, not necessarily physical, even though you physically listen to the show. We thank you very much for listening today. We'll talk to y'all a little bit later.
God bless.
Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the No Fruit Podcast, where we bring you fruitful conversations, ripened wisdom, and love that's deeply rooted. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who could use a little inspiration in their day. Until next time, stay rooted in love, and remember, every seed you plant today shapes the fruit of tomorrow.